Hey everybody, Jake here from Bearded Gear, and it is time for me to pick which knife from the Give a Knife, Take a Knife, Pass Around I'm going to keep, and which ones I'm going to send back, and what I'm going to put in to replace the one that I take. If you don't remember from my unboxing of this whole thing, this is a pass around that was put together by JT's Knifelife. He'll be linked down below, as will the playlist of all of the videos that the participants made of this whole experience. So basically, JT put together a box of knives that he sent out, and it became a pass around. I believe it started as 5 budget-ish knives, somewhere around the $50 mark. And each person that it went to was supposed to take one knife out and replace it with another knife of similar value. And over time, it has evolved a little bit. Now there are 7 knives that were in it that came to me. I think it started as 5. I think the way that that happened is a couple of times along the line, somebody would put in something more expensive, and then somebody after them would take that knife out and put 2 knives in to roughly equal the value of what they then had taken out, something like that. So I think that is what has happened here. I've already decided which one I'm going to keep, and so I'm going to go through and one by one show you the ones I'm not keeping. I'll end with the one I am keeping, and then I'll show you what I'm putting in. So the first one that I am not keeping, although it is nice, I was tempted by this one, is the Steel Will, what is this one? The Piercer. I've had, personally, I think 2 Steel Wills. I've also given one to my brother. They make good knives. I'm fairly certain Steel Will is actually related to Cold Steel, from what I know. Interesting news as well, Cold Steel just sold yesterday, as of when I'm filming this, which is interesting news. They sold to some like sporting goods company or something. So that'll be curious to see how that unfolds. Anyways, the Steel Will Piercer is not one that I'm keeping. Although, like I said, I do like a lot about it. I like the clip setup. It's actually much lighter weight than I was expecting it to be. It's a hole for deployment. Nice, tall, flat grind. It's in D2 steel. It's a pretty good budget-ish knife. So, not what I'm keeping, but nice. The next knife that I'm not keeping, I still don't know the name of. I probably should have looked it up, but it is an Artisan, and it's an S35 VN. Has a very pokey, stabby little blade. Carbon fiber inlay on these titanium scales. It's a fairly nice little Artisan. Not really my style, if I'm being honest. It's a little bit just like slender, especially in the blade. But it's nice. It's got a really good action on it, and pretty good materials. The fit and finish seems nice to me. So it's cool anno. I don't know. Not what I'm keeping, but again, a nice knife. Next we have the CRKT Ma-designed GSD. And this one, as CRKTs go, surprised me quite a bit. I don't honestly think very highly of CRKT's knives these days. I know they're starting to come out with some better and better stuff over the last year or two, so I may be trying out some of their things here soon. But this being a Liang Ma design, I like quite a bit. It's really heavy because it's a steel frame lock and there's no internal milling or anything like that. I'm more drawn to Liang Ma's higher end stuff. That's titanium and lighter and better blade steel and all that. But as a design, I like this. It's a nice flipper. It's a cool little knife. The pocket clip is bent out on it. It's not in perfect shape, but it says it's running on bearings, IKBS, and yeah, interesting little CRKT there. The next is another CRKT. This one has a thumb disc for deployment. This one got to me with some surface rust on it, which I think is kind of funny. I'm sure this is going back to JT next. I was the last stop, so he's going to have some cleaning ahead of him. But it should probably come off. Anyways, this is a Burnley design. It's the Aux, AUX, and this is the one that's got like golf ball texture on these plastic scales. I think this could feel really cool in a different material, but it feels really plasticky to me. The design itself, again, this is, I like Burnley's designs and his design language. The ergos are pretty good for me. It's a little bit thick, but it's a nice knife. It's very smooth. Like, there's nothing wrong here. It just, again, if this was made not by CRKT and better materials, I'd be way more intrigued. It just, Also rattles. It feels a little chintzy to me. I think that's just the lanyard pin back here, but anyways, not keeping that one. Next, we have this knife made by Zahn Knives. I don't know what the model name is called, but we've got a Jade G10 set of scales on it. It has a nested liner lock. So the show side is just G10, no liner, and then on the lock side we have an like literally nested in there liner. It seems to be running on bearings based on how smooth it is. Yeah, it's on bearings. It's a flipper, big knife. This is definitely large. The weight is good for how big it is. It's got a generous forward finger choil. The finish on the blade is actually really nice. It's got this like really dark acid wash. Yeah, I mean it's pretty cool. G10 backspacer. I'm not familiar at all with Zahn knives. I just don't have any experience with them. But this one feels pretty nice to me. I'm assuming it's a Chinese-made knife. I don't know where or by whom. Maybe Zahn Knives is their own manufacturer. I don't know. This one's pretty cool, but not for me. So the last one that I'm not keeping is, this one is a Bastion knife, B-A-S-T-I-O-N. And it's funny, when I first looked in the box of this one, I was like, oh, that looks pretty nice. But then when I picked it up, if I'm being totally honest, it immediately started to feel pretty cheap to me. It's got these bolsters and then carbon, so it's a bolster lock. But like, the clip is really crappy. The coating on the blade just seems kind of gas station-y to me. It's got these satin flats and then the coated grinds. It's D2 blade steel. It's got some blade play, mostly side to side, but when I'm like closing it, it just feels like these tolerances aren't fantastic. They've also put a lot of jimping right here where your finger lands while you're using the flipper tab, so it just like wants to shred your finger when you flip it. I don't know, not crazy about this one, but it really does, like, at first glance this knife looks pretty nice, but then it just, yeah, for me it kind of falls apart when I hold it. Also physically kind of feels like it might fall apart. I don't know, it just doesn't feel like that nice of a knife. And maybe this knife hasn't had the kindest history behind it or something. I don't know, but it doesn't feel very good to me. So that was an easy pass. Now if you watched the unboxing video, then you'll already know by process of elimination what is left. And it's probably not that much of a surprise. I'm going to be keeping the Microtech. It's a Microtech UTX 70. So it is the tiny, tiny, tiny little Microtech UTX. This one is the double-edged, partially serrated, black coated. And this knife is certainly not new. It's got some signs of use and wear on it. There's some scuffs and stuff, but that's fine. I intend to use whatever knife I keep out of this box anyways, right? So it's in fairly good shape, not perfect, but CTS 204P blade steel. Like all Microtechs, this is made in the US. This one was built in May of 2020, so it's relatively new. It does, even though it's tiny, still have a miniaturized glass breaker on it. I don't know why Microtech feels the need to do that on everything, but it's a cool little knife, and so I'm going to be keeping this one. I'll be doing a full review on it after I carry it a little bit more. I've already put it in pocket once or twice as I've been deciding what to keep. So there will be a full review coming of this knife, specifically on my channel, being the one that I'm keeping. But I think this is the one that will make me most happy. So this is the Microtech UTX 70. Now, this is probably also the most expensive knife that's left in the running. I don't know how much that artisan costs, but I would imagine this was more. Like I said, it's not in perfect brand new shape, so value is a finicky thing on stuff like this, but I figured what would be fair is if I put something also US made, also nice, also in good condition, frankly probably in a little bit better condition than that Microtech is, and why not make it also an auto? So I've decided to put in my ProTech Godson. I have had a number of new ProTechs lately, and this one has just kind of become on the chopping block because I've had other stuff. So this is my ProTech Godson in 154 cm. This one is, I think it's like a gray coating on the blade. I don't know what they call it, but it's a fairly generic version of the knife, but still in excellent shape. and a really nice knife. If you watch my full review of it, you'll see it was mostly positive. I like the Godson. It's a very cool, very snappy, probably the snappiest ProTech I've ever had, I think because this blade is so light and thin. Really cool knife. So I'm going to be putting the ProTech in place of the Microtech UTX-70, and I think that seems fair to me, especially because this is in really good condition. So that'll be that. The ProTech is going in, the Microtech is coming out, and now the box is going back to JT. So I hope he does a video with what came back. I bet he will. I need to look back and see what he started with. I need to catch up on like all the videos that have been included with this thing. But it'll be interesting to me to see what it started with and what makes it back to JT at the end. I think that'll kind of be the most interesting thing of the whole experience. So hope he enjoys this ProTech, because I have. It's a cool knife. Anyways, thanks guys. I appreciate you. Again, the playlist and JT's channel will be linked down below. And yeah, I'll see you guys all on the next one.